Hi, my name's Natasha, this is FB History, and today we're going to be talking about Animal Crossing's New Horizons, and specifically the historical Easter eggs you can find all over the game. Now, some of these are less Easter eggs and more clear nods to Japanese heritage, for example, the pretty self-explanatory Kabuki, and also Genjii, who is clearly named after the 11th century masterpiece Genji's story. Even his appearance mimics the artwork that's based on the literary piece. But not all of the historic Easter eggs are so blatantly obvious. Some of them are hidden under the surface and you can only discover them if you do a little bit of digging. And for such a chill game, some of these Easter eggs are dark. Coco is becoming one of the most popular villagers in Animal Crossing, and of course she is. She is by far possibly the strangest. I mean, she has these hollow eyes that have definitely seen things. As well as her ability to see into your soul, Coco is also one of the villagers who's most entrenched in history. In the Japanese game, her name isn't actually Coco, it's Yayoi. Now, Yayoi is both the name of a famous Japanese artist whose work deals a lot with holes and dots, rather interestingly, but more directly it refers to the Yayoi period, which ran from around 300 BC to 300 AD. During the latter part of this era, we start to see clay terracotta figures called haniwa. Now, if you think these look remarkably similar to a certain bunny, that's because they are totally what Coco is based on. Now, you can spot a haniwa if it's got unglazed terracotta, those trademark hollow eyes, and also the main giveaway is if it was found at a burial site, because that's right, Coco is based on funerary equipment. Now, haniwa weren't actually buried. They were placed on top or beside a grave or tomb, normally of someone who was either very high up in society or just rich. And the shape and characteristics of each haniwa differs. Some are rings or cylinders, but some were made to look like objects, creatures, and even people. Now, unfortunately, we don't know the exact reason for haniwa's existence, but there are a lot of theories. For example, there's one that haniwa were there to protect the dead. There's another, though, that is the complete opposite and says that haniwa were actually there to protect the living from the dead. Hopeful. But it does mean that in theory, Coco could be defending your island from evil spirits. So yeah, it turns out if you always found Coco a little bit creepy, then you were right. She is actually based on an ancient Japanese funeral tradition. Moving on. Now, this sneaky little fella is very likely based on a man called Nuzumi Kozo, whose nickname roughly translates in English to Kid Rat, which I will be calling him from now on because that's great. During the early 1800s, Kid Rat carried out a string of high-profile robberies, primarily stealing from Tokyo's feudal lords and also their samurai warriors, because Kid Rat apparently had balls. But that didn't save him, because in 1832 he was captured and admitted to robbing over 100 properties. He became this kind of Robin Hood-like myth in his own time, with rumours going around that he was actually giving the money that he'd stolen to the poor. But once again, this didn't save him, and he was executed in a pretty nasty way that I probably shouldn't say because this is a nice Animal Crossing video. He was beheaded. Still, the myth of Kid Rat lives on as this kind of folklore legend, and he's often depicted with this mask covering just under his nose, kind of like our mate Rizzo here. Everyone's favourite shakedown artist, Tom Nook. The more Nintendo tells us to trust him, the more suspicious I find this very shady trickster. And for good reason. If you play Animal Crossing's New Horizon in the West, chances are that the game has him listed as a raccoon. But this changes in places like Japan, where Tom Nook is a Tanuki, and that really matters. Tanuki are, of course, actually real creatures. They are a kind of canine species that you can mainly find in Japan. However, they are also a part of Japanese folklore, where they are portrayed as these kind of supernatural, mischievous tricksters. Stories about Tanuki have been around for centuries, appearing in folk stories as magical pranksters. They shapeshift, create illusions, and even drum on their bellies to make people lose their way. And yes, as you may have noticed, Tanuki are well endowed, which they use to magical effect. Cue the montage. Now, thankfully, Tom Nook doesn't take after folklore Tanuki in that one area, but he does embody a lot of what they are. For example, he's tricksy and he loves getting one over humans, which in this case is you, the player. I mean, think about it. He spends most of the game making you do his job for him, making you give him money to do that, and then just to keep you going doing this kind of crap, which again is his job that he should be doing himself and you are paying to do for him. He magics up Nook miles to keep you going. Yeah, that's a Tanuki through and through. Okay, so I didn't actually buy any paintings from Red for ages. Mainly because I thought he was shady as hell, didn't trust him, and wanted him to go to jail immediately. But when I did start buying paintings from Red, I realised that it's actually an Art History 101 minigame, and I got really excited. Because Red's selling actual masterpieces. Except obviously this is Red, so not all the time, because this little fox loves to sell you a forgery. So to work out what is real and what's not, you have to do a bit of digging around on your own. Mainly because the paintings that Red sells have really helpful names like Wistful Painting. So you have to go off and work out what the actual title of the actual painting is if you want to stand a decent chance in the minigame itself. Once you've done that, it's just a fun little game of art history, spot the difference. Some are really easy. Some not so easy. And others are just mean. So yeah, don't worry if you're sinking hundreds of hours into New Horizons, because you're actually learning art history. Aren't your parents proud? Finally, we have manhole covers. Yeah, I know that they're not normally super exciting, but here there is a real exception to that rule. In Japan, often towns and cities use amazingly decorated manhole covers to show off each place's unique history and culture, and even occasionally Pokemon, because why not? So it makes sense then that this cool urban art is also in New Horizons. If you actually customize your manhole covers, then you'll come across all these amazing little historic nods to real-life Japanese culture and cities, such as Osaka City's manhole cover, which includes the famous Osaka Castle, which in turn played a key role in the unification of Japan during the 16th century. Or you could go more 17th century with the manhole covers based on those found in Funabisha, with the ship representing the city's history as a hub for ships in the Edo period, which ran from 1603 to 1868. And you can even design your own manhole cover, so why not follow this cool historic trend and do one that represents your own hometown's history and culture? Or you could just make one that looks like a pizza. So there you have it, all the little history nods and Easter eggs in Animal Crossing New Horizons that you may not have noticed before. Have I left anything out? Let me know in the comments. And if you would like to see more history goodness, make sure to hit subscribe. You can also visit our website, fyearhistory.com, where you can find tons of articles and other historic goodness. Our links to our socials are also in the description box below. So until next time, bye!